Hi. Well, another quick video, further update on the conservatory situation. Had a phone call off Gemma, the director at Evander, again this morning. Well, after I rang and left a message for her to call me. It seems they've had a either a director's meeting or a senior staff meeting this morning to discuss what's going to happen with this particular job. Seems that the conservatory is still moving because they adjusted all the doors on Saturday and all the doors shut and locked fine, and now one of the doors won't lock again. Well, it will lock, but I've got to put my whole body weight against it to get the handle up enough for the locks to engage, which is obviously not an ideal situation. So they're sending somebody out this afternoon to readjust the locks again. The plan of attack at the moment is to deglaze the entire roof of glass and to replace it with a polycarbonate roof to take the weight off it. Sorry, I'm pacing. And to have a full structural survey done. So that in itself is going to cost a fortune. All of us pond keepers know how much polycarbonate costs from when we're looking at the pricing of polycarbonate for our covers on our ponds. For example, this unit up here alone is 2.2 metres by 0.85 metres. That one there. And, well, we all know a bit of polycarbonate like that. I mean, okay, they're going to get it trade, but we all know that a piece of polycarbonate like that is going to cost us about 120 quid. That's one unit. So I guesstimate it's going to cost them about 5 grand just in labour and materials to come and deglaze this and temporarily put polycarbonate up. Obviously, once they've cut all the polycarbonate, it's going to be useless for anything else, so will probably need to be scrapped. Wonderful. And they wonder why we have so much waste in the world and so much plastics being wasted and what have you. Evander, if you're listening, I'll happily recycle it for you. I've got a project that I was going to get some polycarbonate for. If it's just going to go in a skip, then I will happily recycle it and make sure it doesn't go to waste. Yeah, because I want to build a little shelter for the fry tank, and that would probably give me just about enough polycarbonate to do it. If you want to take it away and skip it, obviously you're well within your rights to do that because it'll be your polycarbonate. I'm just going to flip you around and show you this, guys. It's something I've noticed over the last day or two. And I just want to document it for Evander, because obviously when they take the weight off this roof with the glazing, this may close up and seal up. It's already seems to have closed up and sealed up, so I'm going to flip you around and show you. So as we know, this section here is still leaning back, although it is straighter than it was. Now, I hadn't actually noticed this until this morning, but I'm just going to document it. If we look at the joint between the window and the internal windowsill, we can see it's nice and tight. And then we get into this last bit, which is the bit that's been severely leaning back, and you'll see that as we move along the gap and come to here, we've now got about a 5mm gap. Now what's happened there, as I can work out, is that as those units have tipped forwards, the back end has kicked out and it's moved the window board slightly. But as you know, if something's laying flat and it tips, a gap opens up underneath it, and that is where the fixing should go through. the amount of force that has been on that, it will have done one of three things. It will either have pulled the fixings out of the brickwork, thus making the fixing insecure. It will have bent the fixing, and that will have weakened the fixing, or it will have moved the brickwork underneath. It could have done all three. So that's definitely going to have to be taken apart and examined to see what's going on there. As was pointed out to me by someone who deals with these sorts of problems for a living, I'm not going to mention any names, they can name themselves if they want to. He said you could see it was all out of line just looking at the spacer bars in the windows, because you had no gap between the spacer bar and the frame at one point, and you could see the spacer bar poking out from behind the frame at other points, showing that the framework, where the window is a fixed square, the framework had become a parallelogram or a trapezoid, whichever way you want to look at it. And obviously the square that the frame should have been had been slanted over, and where the window doesn't flex and the frame does, you could see that it was out of line just using the straight edge of the sealed unit. Looking around now, you can still see this on some of the units, but it's not as pronounced as it was, because obviously some things have moved back somewhat into position, although not totally. So hopefully before I go to Denmark, so they've got until basically Wednesday evening, all the weight will be off this roof and a polycarbonate roof will have been fitted, so it's still weather tight. Pending a full structural survey. What I think it is that this ridge, because the only thing that can really be a lot heavier is the metalwork, the ridge work and the spars. I think all the metalwork is probably considerably heavier than the original, and that the window system is not designed to take that additional weight, and that's been exacerbated by glazing the roof without putting the tie bars in. So it's allowed it to move, and the windows underneath just haven't been able to support it. That's my theory from my experience of the window game. But we'll see what a qualified structural engineer has to say. They've assured me that apparently the technology has moved on now, and they can check for micro cracking in the profiles with a handheld device. Quite possibly so. Apparently they can use some sort of infrared device that will check for microscopic cracking in the profile. So hopefully when I come back from Denmark, we'll be able to get all that arranged and organised, because I certainly want to be here when all this sort of stuff's going on. I don't want to be in another country. So we'll see what happens. So it's just a quick update, again, documenting what's happening on particular timestamps, documenting what I've been told, and also I know a few of you have been messaging me privately. It just stops having to type out the messages time and time again as to what's happening, because I know a couple of you have voiced concerns about what's happening. People who are currently in the building game and that sort of thing. So it's just an update. I would feel a lot more comfortable with this with a polycarb roof on it, to be fair. The problem being, when they put a polycarb roof off and it takes all the weight off, and a structural engineer comes out, it's not going to show the twists and bends in the structure, because a lot of those, just by putting the acro props in, have been the visual effect of them has been lessened, shall we say. So like the roof spar up there, this one here, the one that is not the one in the corner but the one next to it, the one in between the one with the tie bar and the one that runs down to the corner, when you looked at that from outside before they put this acroprop in, it was visually see a bend in it. And that's an aluminium roof spar. Now, you can still see it's slightly bent from the inside, but it's not as visually bent as it was, because obviously the weight is now being supported. Whether that has affected the structure of the aluminium, I'm not entirely sure. But we'll get structural engineering, I think, now to check it out. I don't think that Aviva or Evander or myself will accept anything less now. You know, it's just a rubbish situation to be in, really. So anyway, enough documenting. I've got to go and do some more work for Denmark. Again, if anything more transpires, I will be documenting it, just to ensure that everything is right. Ciao guys.